Now moving on to the today's topic. In the previous class we have discussed about what are the different scenarios that have led into the world, what are the major problems that we have discussed, anti-war, anti-nuclear strategies, what made them to develop, we have come across. Now moving on to the concept of globalization. This is the concept of which has changed the entire world into a global market or a world village, where every corner is connected to the other market or every area is connected with the other region. Earlier, if we have anything to travel from one region to other region, it used to take days, hours and minutes, but now it is just with a phone call we can get connected with east to west or north to south, connecting according to the situation. And this globalization concept, or it is also known as neoliberalization. This neoliberalization has changed the entire scenario of the existing things, but as well as it has brought some drastic changes which others are affected. See, when we consider of this globalization or neoliberalization, we get into the scenario the people of rich capitalists. These rich capitalist people or the industrialist people or the rich nations or the superpower countries started to impose certain kind of restrictions on the lower countries or the developing countries to sell their products at very less cost. At the same time, for example, if you want to build a dam or an industry or something, the lands of the poor people were grabbed off and the necessary compensations were not paid for them as per the required content. This also was one of the major problems which was emerging out of the globalization. And because of globalization, we got the environmental problems. These environmental problems are of various kinds. Because of over globalization, because of the investments or because of the industries releasing the more amount of pollutants outside, more amount of carbon monoxide outside, this has raised the temperatures in the world. When the temperatures have raised in the world, that has raised the temperatures and which has started to melt the polar ice caps, and because of the overheat which is melting for us, we start to get some kind of depletion in the ozone layer. So we have various issues which have generated during the modern period after the Second World War has come to end, after the USA and USSR have agreed to reduce their nuclear arm piles. We got to concentrate on the liberalization policy, then moving on to the global economic scenario of globalization. What are the major changes which concerns were developed towards the environmental issues? What are the major environmental issues in our country? What are the major environmental issues have generated in the entire world? Against what did they stand? What was their success point here? What is their main motto in getting this kind of environmental mottos? Or is there any organization working against the anti-environmental programs? We will discuss all these things. Now, moving on to the very international movement which started against the superpower nation, we shall discuss about the movement of Green Peace movement. Green Peace movement was started in 1971 at Alaska. About what is this Green Peace movement? What is the meaning of green? Green symbolizes the nature color. Peace is to sustain the environmental peace. Here, the meaning of this green peace have occurred from this actually is a movement which is against the US government conducting tests in underwaters. Now, the US government used to do the nuclear tests or any other dangerous tests under the underground water levels or under the sea levels near the region of Alaska. So, in order to make the people of the world to get aware of what are the dangers that are going to come because of the water tests under the water, if you do any explosive tests, what are the major changes that are going to affect the nation or affect the entire world or the globe. So, in Alaska, a team of members In Alaska, a team of volunteers have kept a small ship under the water nearby to the region where the test is going to take place to picturize the everything and to create awareness for the entire people of US and all the other nations, like what is actually happening in the Alaska underground water levels. So they kept this ship which was named as Green Piece or the Green Ship. Later it became to be famous as the Green Peace Revolution or Green Peace Movement. This is a non-profitable social organization which is a non-governmental organization. Today it has branches in 40 countries and it has its head office at Amsterdam of Holland. Now also this organization is working here. For what purpose is this organization working? The organization is want to create awareness for the people, like what is a nation about or what is the dangerous effects of this movement or this test taken by the American government in the underground water levels. See here, in the latest trends after 1970s and 1980s, we have seen a drastic change in the rainfall conditions or the erratic rainfall situations. The meaning of the word erratic rainfall situations is that in the erratic rainfall conditions, the rains will come either excess or they change in the period of their time arrival, or sometimes they don't rain at all, which results in the cause of droughts. So these erratic rainfall conditions were created because of this kind of tests. This is one point. The next point is the another major changes which are going to occur in the nature is that because of underground tests which are going to be conducted in the underground sea water levels, the temperatures in the underground water levels are going to increase it. When it goes on increasing, it increases the temperatures on the land. When the temperatures on the land also get increased, and once the water is getting heated and land is getting heated, in water, when water is getting heated than the maximum required level or like a certain point of time, automatically it escalates the fishes or the biological beings which are living in the underground water levels or the environmental decay. Some fishes may even die. It creates imbalances in the biological system of the fishes. Then moving on to the land. If land gets heated, this influences the ozone layers because the entire earth is surrounded by either water or land. Automatically it creates tension for the ozone layer, and ozone layer is getting depleted because of the more pollution what we are producing right now. For that it would be an added point for them, and then ozone layer gets depleted completely. Finally it gets into holes. When the holes started to rake the sun rays directly, we get the ultraviolet rays falling on the earth directly because of the hole which was created in the ozone layer. Ozone layer is also known as O3. So because of these ozone layer conditions and all these things, we get the direct rays of sun which is very hot and the UV rays. This will create, if direct sun rays falls on our skin, we get skin diseases, we get many kind of side effects, and we can't even see the sun rays directly. If you see the sun rays directly, your eyelids will get damaged and your eyesight will get damaged completely. So these are the negative effects of direct sun rays. Along with this, the temperatures will be increasing here on the land, and when the temperatures will increase, automatically the underground water levels are hot and the land is hot. This will make the polar regions to melt. The polar ice caps will start melting, and once the polar ice caps start melting down, the water levels will get increased in the seas, oceans, and then the boundary nations which are present will get either submerged or will get floods. Once they get floods and submerged, and the lands will get disappeared. Sometimes we may get disappeared some of the island nations, or the boundaries of India also we may get affected because of this globalization concept of overheating, and automatically it results in the overflow of water. And once the overflow of floods is controlled, next step is that we are not going to get the rains at all in any point of time. So it will create problem for the boundary regions as well as for the interior regions of the land people. So this organization wants their motto that we should have a sustainable development for the nation of the environmental resources of the entire world, because everybody has the rights of their share in this world. Not only the developed nations, but the undeveloped nations or the developing nations, present generation citizens and the future generation citizens all have their own share in this world, because our forefathers and our past generations have preserved the globe for us carefully. So we have to preserve this one carefully and then pass on to the next generations, so that they will pass on it to the next generations. Because of the efforts made by this organization, we got the new concept in the world, that is the sustainable development. This sustainable development is going to create a clear awareness for all the people, and this organization is still working on this concept, like equitable development will create better awareness, and sustainable development, the concept should be imbibed in everybody's thought process of development, so that either it is a developed nation or a developing nation or the underdeveloped nation. So the final output or the process what we are getting will be ensured clearly for us that we as citizens of the world are preserving the actual conditions and the diversity of the globe, and also we are safeguarding it, and we shall pass on it to the next generations. This is a major revolution which was brought by the Green Peace movement, which is against the superpower nation, that is US. The efforts were very daring steps at that point of time, because in 1970s the USA was in its peak of its power, and it can curb any of the movements against it very easily. Even then these people volunteers, these people are not profitable people, or they are not doing any business here. These people stood forward firmly against the US government and proclaimed that these are the negative impacts what we are going to get it. Today most of the environmentalists are ready to discuss all these issues very clearly and firmly and openly and create awareness for all the people. Let us hope we will get sustainable development and equitable share to preserve the entire diversity of the globe.